Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the March 5th Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee. Our first order of business will be to approve our minutes for February the 5th, and I'm going to call on our Vice Chairman, Paul Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I reviewed the minutes, and I found them in order and moved for approval.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next order of business is public comments, and we've had one person sign up, Ms. Susan Allen, who wishes to speak on the legal services agreement. Susan? You'll have 3 minutes, and please state your name and I guess the district you're in. I think we got a little new rule where we don't ask your address, or you can give it if you want to.
Okay. I'm Susan Allen. I live on Nelson Lane in Murfreesboro, District 14. Before approving a multi-year professional services contract funded by taxpayers, I have a few questions I hope you'll consider regarding this agreement. First, looking at the contract, it appears there may be 3 or maybe 4 buckets of money related to legal services. The general legal services fee of $150,000 per year, the county attorney salary of $130,000 per year plus benefits, the back tax assistance salary plus benefits, and possibly additional compensation for representing the school board. For the sake of transparency, it would be helpful to see the total annual cost to the county in one number. My question number 1 is, would it be possible for the commission to receive that total amount in writing before the contract is approved so everyone understands the full cost to taxpayers? During the steering committee meeting, Commissioner McAdoo asked whether there's an option where they could look at the county attorney's performance on a 1 or 2 year basis, or effectively being committed to 4 years. So my question number 2 is it reasonable to determine whether each county department and entities listed in the contract has confirmed that they have received satisfactory legal advice and assistance? A simple performance review from the departments served would seem like a reasonable step before renewing a contract of this size. And if such a review shows less than satisfactory performance, my question number 3 is it reasonable to also be a cause for termination? Also, as stated in section 4C, since the county attorney and associates maintain their own professional liability insurance to cover their errors and omissions in the rendition of legal services to the county, my question 4 is, why should the county then represent, defend, and pay liability claims against the county attorney and associates related to legal representation of the county? I want to assure you that none of these questions are criticisms of Mr. Christensen. They are simply the kinds of questions any governing body should ask before approving a multi-year agreement involving significant public funds. Since this contract was written by the county attorney and his firm, and they benefit from it, my question 5 is, will you seek outside legal services to review this legal services agreement as advised in the agreement? Transparency, accountability, and periodic performance review are just good governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, next up is our investment report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Ted Beatty, the Rutherford County trustee. Our LGIP rate for the prior month was 365, and our money market rate is 396. And we were actually able to lock in some funds for a couple of years at 383, which is a little better than we've seen over the last couple of months. So the rates have actually been up the last few days, so we're going to try to take advantage of that a little bit. But that's my report, sir.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any questions or further discussion? All in favor of the report signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, item 4, fund condition report. Michael?
Good evening. So a couple things I would like to talk to you about tonight on the fund condition report, but the first thing is kind of the revenue update that we do every month. So some good news, sales tax is still in line, and actually our hotel motel tax flipped positive now. So those are all good things. But the other thing I want to draw your attention to this time of year is we are now in line with property tax collections. As you can see, we're in line with what we are prior years. So I'd also like to congratulate THSO's office on having the month of February being ended. They do a good job, and if you know anything about that last week of February, it's a booger down there. So I just want to say thanks to his staff and kind of a shout out to them that they still get all our payroll wires and payroll funds out even on that last week of the month. But I do want to draw attention to that and say we're right in line with where we should be, and always give you all dating back to tax year 2017. So that is good news. And then I'll comment again on investment income that I kind of do every month, that while investment income is coming down from us compared to prior year, it is still really healthy, and we are still conservatively budgeted there. So we did plan for a decrease in rates, just to kind of reassure this body as we go forward. We did make a plan for that. So with that, that's the revenue report and the fund condition report I have, and I'll take any questions.
I have a motion to approve the report
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? After this vote, I do have a question, but all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You're recognized.
Quick question. I know that last month I'd asked Ed Elam to bring up health insurance type data and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, perhaps. But another issue that it's kind of seems to be surfacing is the cost of pension.
That's what I wanted to bring up. So,
And
Michael, if you would, please explain what we discussed.
Yeah, so one of the things that I want to make this committee apprised of that we kind of do every year as we go into budget season is me and my office with Justin and everybody else, we start looking at trends and things like that, just like Ed's office does on insurance. And so as we're looking at things that are going to affect next year's budget, as we build that budget over the next really 2.5 months to present to y'all as we look at tax rates and things like that, one of the things that's been creeping up over the last few years for us is pension. So it's over the last at least 4 years, it's gone up almost 1% to 1.5% some years every year. And it doesn't just affect us, it affects the school board, it affects the highway department, it affects ambulance, and it affects everybody. And so we really need to be cognizant of that and forward-looking, because it's different than insurance rates when you look at pension. We can change premiums next year and go to a 50% increase in premium. That is not what we're going to do, Ed, so I don't. But we can immediately remedy that. When it comes to pension, if you make a change to the pension plan, that change happens over the course of 5, 10, 15, 20 years as it reduces that pension liability. And so I think one of the things I want to tell you tonight is that's something this body really needs to look at from a cost perspective. And you look at larger cities, and we're not there yet. I'm not saying we're there, but I'm saying it's an unsustainable trend that we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years as we're looking at pensions. So one of my suggestions to this body would be to have somebody from the Treasury Department to come down here and give this committee a presentation and kind of look at some trend analysis, look at what some options over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years would be to be forward-looking, so we don't get caught flat-footed like some larger cities and things like that. As our pension rate creeps up, we need to be proactive at looking at that, because you don't want to get out there and realize, oh, we can't afford that at some point, and then we decide to make a change. But remember, that change when it comes to pension liability is incremental changes over 5, 10, 20 years, because one thing's with pension, everybody's grandfathered in. Every current employee you cannot change. So any change to any type of thing like that would be to future employees in future years. Nothing would change for existing employees. And so my recommendation to this body on a topic this important would to be forward-looking, and maybe if y'all could allow me or direct me to have somebody from the Treasury to come down and give this committee a presentation with options and what that would look like over the next 5 or 10 years, if this body's willing.
Commissioner Irvin, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to emphasize that no current employee's pension would change.
That is correct. And I don't think we'd be looking at even a change for next year for new hires either.
Right. It would only affect, any changes that were ever made would only affect new hires going forward.
And I want to clarify, and that's new hires, not a part of the pension plan.
Right.
So even when you look at
If there's somebody's grandfathered under the legacy plan.
so if we hired an employee from another jurisdiction, another county, a state employee, those people that are vested, that does not change. And so this would affect, like I said, new hires that have never been part of the pension system, and it would also affect people that are far out, 5, 10, 20 years from now. But we really need to be looking at that, because that trend analysis over the last 5 to 6 years, especially with inflation, is going to start putting a hamper on the county's budget if we don't look at some options.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to make that motion if that's what's appropriate.
I don't think we need a motion, but.
I think if it's just a consensus, or if it's allowed by this body, unless I hear,
I mean, if you want to make a motion, I'm good with that, but if I don't hear any dissension, we'll have Michael invite a Treasury member, but I also would like for him to address the full commission. So we need to see about getting that on the agenda. But thank you for bringing that up. Those of you that have been on this committee for a long time realize how important this can be and how it affects our budget. It's something that can really zing us. I know last time we looked at it, we actually lowered it some, which I wasn't happy about, but that catches up with you. Anyway, we'll have this guy come in and talk to us. Can you get him next month, or?
so I was gonna, if that was okay with this committee, I was gonna reach out next month. And also to put some weight behind this, I'll tell you our current pension rate that we pay for all county employees. The school system pays it for all classified employees. The highway department pays it for all employees. We pay 12.35% on every employee's salary. So that's a 12.35% match right off the top that we pay. And that goes to the scale of how large that cost is, to our budget. And we want to do that because we have really great employees. But as that goes up 1.5% every year, that's a 1.5% raise we can't give and things like that. So, but I'll be glad to reach out and tentatively schedule that for next month's meeting, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
And it will be. Please do that. All right, let's move on.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh,
could
I'm
I?
sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You didn't mention the teachers. Do the teachers contribute to theirs, or does it happen?
So the teachers, so that is different. The teachers, the new hire teachers are in a cost-sharing plan. They're a completely separate pension plan from county employees and classified employees. Existing teachers are grandfathered in, but several years ago, I'm gonna look at Brian or Kay, I don't know if they remember. Do y'all remember when the teachers went to the hybrid plan?
20 years, I'm guessing, okay?
So 2013, the teachers went to a hybrid pension plan, but they are separate. They are in a separate pot of retirement pot per se. So the way it works is we have a pot for county employees, and classified employees and highway are in a pot. Teachers are in a cost-sharing plan that covers the cost-sharing plan for the entire state. They're just inherently certified teachers are differently the way it's set up through TCRS, the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System. So that's why they're separate from this discussion altogether, but they are already on a hybrid plan, and they've been that since 2013-ish, give or take. So it's been a while, but, and I'm not saying we should go there. I'm just saying we need to be proactive and look and see what some options are for the county.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just kind of make a comment. This was a hot topic. I see Mary in the audience. She probably remembers better than I do. But lengthy conversations throughout the budget process a number of years ago. I'm guessing 20, but it's probably been 15, that related to changing the county's plan over to the state plan. Bottom line, when it came to it, the deciding factor was that the county's plan was cheaper for the county. Things may have changed. And when the gentleman comes in, a comparison of cost analysis and trends compared not only to the county's plans, but also the state plan as well, and how those trends have changed. So if we could make sure that we're comparing county and the state plan, I think would be.
Well, let me clarify. I'm looking at Mary. So I think we're talking about two separate things here.
Okay.
So we do a comparison every year, and we have for medical, for health insurance, state, and that determination, I believe, is what you're talking about from Mary. We are already a part of the state retirement system.
Okay.
So what we're separate on, and what Ed I think is going to talk about here in a second when he comes up, that Commissioner Irvin talked about, that we are running some analysis on every year that we run, is we also look at, do we stay self-insured for medical?
Yep.
Or do we switch to the state's medical plan, which is where the schools went a couple years ago? That, I believe, is what Mary has talked about. And I think that analysis is also being done this year. I know it is. That is also being done this year, as it has done every year, to see if we're cheaper, if it's cheaper to stay self-insured with medical, or whether we should go with the state plan. For pension, we are already on the state's pension plan. It would determine some options. We would want to stay with the state. They are by far and away the cheapest. But it would determine what type of retirement plan we stay with the state. But he is going to bring those options to you, and the cost analysis is what the Department of Treasury would bring to you. And they'll give you the pros and cons of whether it is to change the vesting period, whether you would go to a hybrid pension plan, whether you go to a contributory. He would bring all of those options on what the cost was and what the pros and cons. So my goal is he would bring that to you next month. And then you wouldn't have to make a decision right away. You could look at that over the next, something to do for not this budget year, but the following. But I think what you're referring to is probably medical.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, we're going to move on to item 5, risk management, financial report.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. Ed Elam, Insurance and Risk Management Director. So for the 264 fund, February 2026, revenue $2,055,783, expenses $2,131,068, revenue less expenditures a negative $75,285. Your total for the calendar year is revenue $4,099,346, expenditures $4,394,474, and revenue less expenditures a negative $295,128. Your total for the fiscal year, you have revenue $16,381,313, expenditures $20,235,395, revenue less expenditures a negative $3,854,082. For the 266 fund, you have for the month of February, workers' comp, $46,495.06. OJI, you have $61,983. And the total for the month of February is $108,478.06. Year-to-date totals for workers' comp, $176,917.33. OJI, $652,416.02. And the total year-to-date total is $829,333.35. On the legal expense for the month of February, you have $30,150.83. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Any questions for the director? Have a motion and second. Mr. Johnson, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ed.
So if I could have just a minute. Last month, Commissioner Irvin asked for a possible analysis on trend and things like that. I did meet with Commissioner Irvin to determine exactly what his questions were going to be, what he wanted to bring to the committee. We were prepared, Michael, myself, Marissa with Gallagher, to come with you with something, but after we sat down and looked at what we had ahead of us and what we would be bringing to the committee, just to let you know, the bids open up on March the 17th. Medical, dental, vision, stop loss, pharmacy, all of those open on March the 17th. So we felt like after having the discussion with Commissioner Irvin that we might be a little premature, that we'd have to come back again, because based on what the bids that were open, we would if we came to you now, it would just be a guesstimation. The bids are going to give us more solid ground that we can look at as pricing and trend and things like that. And then also, keep in mind when we're setting rates, the rates that you set are going to be for all of 2027. So when you're going off of, and if on the 264 fund, you're only looking at 2 months. So if we get a couple more months to see how we are trending in that comparison, we get a better idea of where our rates should land for 2027. And I will also tell you, if any of y'all have watched the news, and if you've listened to anybody at the state, there's a lot going on with pharmacy benefit managers and breaking that up with carriers, breaking them up with pharmacies to where that pharmacy benefits manager cannot be owned by a carrier or a pharmacy. So there's a lot of movement in the pharmacy world right now. Some of you may have heard of Trump RX, and we're trying to figure out how that's going to play out in June or July. Tremendous amount of movement, and I think time would help us, give us a little more time to be able to take a look at this and see where all of those variables land. But I just wanted to make sure that before I left, I wanted to make sure that you didn't feel like that I had ignored the committee after Commissioner Irvin's request.
Thank you, Ed.
All right, thank you.
All right, next item is the item 6, Child Advocacy Center Capital Funding. Welcome. Please state your name and what you're doing for us. Bill.
I'm Bill Whitesell. I live on Hale Avenue here in Murfreesboro, and I was here last month, and I wanted to update you on our progress. I think I told you we were signing the contract and closing on the building. We have done that. We closed last Thursday. We now own the property. It's over in the old part of the medical center. It's 8,000 square feet. We will be asking for bids on the renovations. Also, County Attorney Christensen has prepared a contract. We have looked at it. We've come to an agreement on the terms of that. We will be meeting on March 18th with our board to hopefully approve that so that our president can sign it. And I think that's about all I have.
Michael.
But I'll answer any questions.
So tonight on your iPads is a copy of that contract. What we did is kind of formalized everything that's been said over since last year when we set the money aside up to last month at both Budget and Commission and here. That's all been summarized into this contract. It also takes into account their board approving it. It takes, takes into account the renovations of that building. So if you wish to move forward tonight, if you would approve this contract, it'll go on to the full commission next week. And if approved, the mayor can sign it, they can sign it, and we can release the funds.
Any questions from the committee? Wayne?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This has a clawback in it, and I was just curious kind of what the thoughts are and how that was kind of worked through. The clawback provision, basically, where the money is owed back. I'm looking for it now. Let's see here, repayment obligation, that kind of thing.
Section 8?
Yeah, and I was just curious how the negotiations and that process went.
I may have to defer to.
We're going to call our attorney up. I'm not going to ask to. He should be allowed to speak on this without us voting. Thank you, Nick.
Commissioner Irvin, the thinking behind that was as follows. So the only other one that I can remember where we've done something similar like this was with, I think it was Doors of Hope, and it was them through a subrecipient federal grant, and there were a lot of strings attached to the flowing of that money through to that entity that actually required a deed of trust and other things in case the activities of the Doors of Hope, for example, ceased or they sold the property. And the thinking behind this was not to have all of those same strings attached, because this isn't a federal grant, it's not a state grant, but to still have some ability that, for whatever reason, if they cease becoming an entity and we're loaning them all this money to do the renovations, that there's some contractual provision to enforce, if necessary, to recoup on a pro rata basis, depending on which year they do that in, to recoup that portion of that $1 million, since we really are investing in that building itself for the sole purpose that it be used for child advocacy. That was the thinking there.
And the mechanism, I think this was just available this afternoon. I haven't had a chance really to study it, but I saw the clawback. The mechanism provides a mechanism for us to go back and enforce it.
I think we just have to sue them based on breach of contract.
So it's a straight lawsuit, and there's nothing else we could do other than sue them, basically.
Correct.
Okay, and this gets filed, right?
Pardon?
Will this be filed?
Well, there is a provision in here to allow it to serve as a memorandum to be recorded with the Registers of Deeds office, so that any landowner is on notice of this contribution and the possible attachment to the land in case there's a sale or that they attempt to sell it within the 10 years.
Any other questions for Mr. Christensen?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You recognize him.
I may need to be reminded, but when we looked at this last year, I think the committee and the commission had voted that they would have their fundraisers, and then we would provide up to $1 million after their fundraisers if they fell short. Is that my recollection or what?
I don't, sorry, something's in my throat, and I have not gotten, I have cough drops in my office. I just went to get them. My recollection is a little different. My recollection was we committed, we were kind of their seed donor of the $1 million, and if they got the rest, which they have done, and were able to purchase the building, then we would give them the $1 million. I don't think it was if they didn't get the other. My recollection was we were their first promissory or seed money. We just weren't willing to give it until other people put some skin in the game as well. That was my recollection, and they came back last month and told us to do so. That's my recollection.
Okay, so the building has been purchased, correct? And so what is left is the renovations?
Correct.
And so this $1 million would go toward the renovations?
Yes, sir, and we have had our architect and our construction consultant, they have made a budget for the renovations, and it's right at 1.1 or 1.2 million is my recollection. We need to update the electrical system, the HVAC system, pave the parking lot, and put a roof on, are just things that come to my mind, but that is correct, and we do have a budget for it.
And was any of the building financed, or was it all?
We paid cash for it from the other donations that we've received in the past year.
Commissioner Gooch, I will also note in section 1.2, we wanted to be very intentional and specific about what these funds were used for. And so as we worked with them, we laid out the specifics of what this money could be used for. We didn't want it to go to them and then go to somebody else. We wanted it to stay in Rutherford County and be used on that building. And so we tried to lay out those provisions in section 1.2 on page 1 of the agreement, if that helps.
Okay, Mr. Chair, are we looking for a motion
We are.
approve the contract? So moved.
Have a motion. Do I hear a second? Second, Commissioner Piercy. Further discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, Chairman P.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank
Thank
you.
you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
You're recognized.
if I could recognize Councilor Witzel for not only still serving the county long after his retirement, but with such a special purpose as this, and the amount of time and hours that he puts in just needs to be recognized. And I'd just like to do a quick shout out for Bill Whitzel. Thank you for your service to the county. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I wholeheartedly agree. Thank you, Bill. Okay, item 7, the renewal of the county attorney legal services agreement. Michael, you want to start this, or we are going to probably call our attorney up if we have questions?
So I would be glad to give an initial overview and to start it, and then obviously the county attorney is here for any questions. So as you know, the previous legal services agreement is up at June 30th. It expires June 30th. Typically, we've renewed these every 4 years. It has been and still is very imperative that we stay ahead of renewing this based on all of the legal work that happens in the months of May, June, and July with the budget process and reappraisals and things like that. I'm pulling it up in front of me right now. Structurally, this contract is the same as it has been for the last at least 8, the pre-2 renewals. Let me say that correctly. The only change is here we have went through, we had to make 1 or 2 clerical changes and simplify the way, separated the sections of the fees that we pay. But other than that, the only thing that's changed is really the dates and the dollar amounts as far as the structure from the previous years. I'll be glad to answer any questions, and I think Nick is also here as well.
Mr. Chairman,
You're recognized.
could you, Michael, could you give us a sense for, if the structure is very similar, so let's think about this in terms of general legal services fee, county attorney salary, county back tax person, and litigation costs. So do you have 2024, 2025, and I know I didn't ask for this before. I just had a chance to review it finally a couple hours ago. So I'm trying to get a sense for what the dollars are, and then do we have any kind of pro forma going forward to know how much this is going to cost us going forward? And also I'm trying to get a sense for what kind of increases are we looking at over that 24 through 20, pro forma 2027 time period.
So I can pull that, since you didn't ask me for it, but I can pull that up pretty quick.
And I apologize.
No, I can look at every year. So really, everything is fixed in here is a fixed cost except the litigation services. And I will say that really depends on how much we get sued. I know for me, it's kind of that simple, or how much litigation we get into. But with that being said, is I can pull up, we have a county attorney budget that's in the general fund that we approve every year. And I will say every year that the salary of the county attorney and of the hourly rate is tied to the elected official's salary schedule. The state sets that.
Okay, so like, what is his current salary, and how much is, and this provides for 130?
I'm pulling all that up. I'm just giving you some some information as I pull this up.
Kind of the underlying piece to that is, there hasn't been, best I can tell, and perhaps it was done and I'm just not aware of it, some form of evaluation or review in terms of performance, because, you know, we do it for Michael, we do a pretty thorough review. I don't know why we don't do this for the county attorney as well. In other words, why don't we, there's a whole list of, I could read them, but if it's the bottom of page 2, there's a whole list of clients, basically, that none of which, I don't know if they've been consulted or not. And we don't have any, for example, blind surveys or anything along those lines to kind of indicate whether or not, how many times they were contacted, kind of response time to an email or to a call. I know Chairman Harris mentioned that his calls are always returned. I've heard that's not always the case from some other departments. And I'm not making a judgment on that, but I'm just saying at some point we need to do a review of this process, because so that we can have a basis Okay, a review of the performance as well as a review of comparable attorney salaries, county attorney salaries and packages. And if he's underpaid, okay, that's great. If this is a fair deal, I'd like to know that from an economic perspective. But that goes to the evaluations, to the reviews, to comparisons, and trying to assess kind of where we are instead of, just a document being put in our hands.
I think we could actually make a suggestion that our steering committee review that, and I wouldn't feel that the county attorney would be reviewed by the budget committee, but of course his finances would be, and we're aware of those costs there, but that's typically something I would think our steering committee would look at. Chairman Harris, you got any comment on that, or as far as reviewing a county attorney, evaluating them similar to what we do, Michael, with our budget, and Sonia Stevenson?
Is this, are you asking to do an annual,
Well,
Yeah, I would ask
like
for
what
an
we
annual-
do with HR? We do an annual assessment?
Yeah, basically an annual assessment would be great. And it could be blind, it could be, have rate 1 through 10, response to email within a reasonable period of time. Okay?
Yeah, I don't see no problem with that, Mr. Chairman. I mean, we do that right now for HR, so I can get the questions, and then like a year from now, after we do this deal, then we can have that every year.
does the county attorney normally report to steering?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but, of course, Ed always has his numbers. Well, I was questioning that. Go ahead, Mike.
So I've got a couple of, you threw several questions at me, so I've got answers to several of them. So excuse my voice. I'm going to answer a couple of them in no particular order. The current budget that we're under today for FY26 for the county attorney is, I'm going to give approximate numbers within $1,000 here, but it's $334,000. But I want to tell you what that covers, because that's the next question is, what does that cover, right?
Can you break it out?
Yep, I'm going to. So right now, that covers, and I'm going to give you specifics in a second, but that covers the county attorney's salary. It also covers the secretary, the back tax assistant's salary. It also covers all of the ancillary benefits related to those salaries, whether that be insurance, things like that. Nick is not eligible for pension, so it does not cover that, but we do pay pension on the back tax assistant because that person is on our salary schedule. So Nick does not have pension in there, nor leave.
Quick question to interject. Is that person an employee? Mm-hmm. Okay, because in here, I believe,
I think it says that the person is our employee.
correct, got it. You're right.
So that person is an employee, but I want to clarify, when I say pension and things like that, that does not include Nick. Nick does not get a pension, nor does he, I'm sorry, I'm using Nick. The county attorney does not get a pension, nor does he accrue leave with the county. But this person does. So this includes this person's pension, the Social Security, the Medicare. We provide disability insurance for this person. And then this person also is allowed to purchase insurance, which she does because she's our employee. And so we do the matching piece. We also, as part of the contract, allow Nick to purchase insurance off of the county, just like we do community care in the airport. We're kind of a conduit for that. So it includes all that. It also includes the firm's monthly, I call it a retainer. I think the legal services agreement calls it a general legal services fee, but I call it a monthly retainer. That covers all of the administrative and ancillary costs that come with that. So all of that is $334,000. The current salary is $96,000. And so I think your other question was, what was some comparative analysis that was done?
Well, what was the general legal services fee like?
Well, it is complicated, and that's one of the clerical changes we changed. But right now, I believe it is $8,400 and something a month within $100 of it. It's 84 something, $8,400 something a month. I've got in the budget, it's $103,476. But we have to true that up at the end of every year because that right now the legal services fee depends on what we pay the back tax assistant, and I never know what insurance he or she is going to pick, and so I true that up at the end of the year it's within a couple $100. And that's what we've cleaned up this year because there's a lot of math to calculate that. And so I've asked as a request that the county attorney's firm simplify that. But you asked, I want to answer a couple other questions that you had, if that's okay. So you asked about the salary. The current salary is 96. So when we reached out, I did some comparative analysis of some surrounding cities and counties. Most recently, as of last week, Smyrna's city attorney was posted. That ranged from approximately 190 to 240,000. The city's salary was they just hired, I believe, a person. I don't know if that's been announced, so I don't want to say it may or may not have been. Their range, I think, capped at 230-ish, give or take the years of experience.
Are those employees or are they independent contractors?
Those are employees. So then the next question is, I went and looked at comparable counties' budgets to see, because our budget is $334,000. Most of their budgets were well into the over $1 million for their in-house package. And then separate, you have to look at the litigation services separate because all of the cities farm out their litigation. And so we started comparing hourly rates. And so we looked at the rates. Those rates range from everything from $700 to $800 an hour, which is similar to what we pay our environmental attorney out of Nashville. But I could not find any rate that was lower than what we're paying without getting into specifics because there's so many specialties. And to be honest with you, the legal expertise is above my head when it comes to environmental versus personal liability versus. So anyways, with all that said is everybody that I looked at was over $1 million for their in-house legal budget.
Any way to compare the hours? In other words, that probably not, but if there's, how many hours were spent by Nick and his team on litigation above and beyond the expenses?
I've tried a way to compare that, and I cannot figure out a way to compare that on an apples-to-apples basis. I can pull that, but most of those fees run through our self-insurance fund, and a lot of those fees are reimbursed to us. So what happens is if we go to, we have several things in federal court in Nashville, or most of the stuff is in federal court, I think, in Nashville. We have some local stuff, but most of that's misdemeanor-style stuff. But when we go, for example, we had a class action lawsuit on the juvenile detention. I'll say something that's neutral that was before my time. A lot of those legal fees are reimbursed by the insurance company. So it's hard for me to compare like an apples to apples to another city, but can I get you the amount of hours? Yes, we can get that. It's a comparative over a ton of cases, right, over multiple years. But to compare the cost versus another city is hard based on the amount of casework we have.
Yeah, I understand that part. Yeah, and thank you very much for the numbers. Any idea, because that's a pretty hefty increase, 96 to 130, 100 to 150.
It had a mathematical, So we looked at that from a mathematical basis, or at least I gave my recommendation. And one of the things we looked at was how much inflation, because the elected officials, I don't want to say he because I'm looking at Nick, but the constitutional officers, which is what the county attorneys is capped at, has been capped at 5%. And so when you go back and look at the actual inflation, when we gave 15 and 20% raises to employees, then the next year we gave 6, and then the next year we gave an additional, I'm going off the top of my head, 8 if you include the mid-year raise we did, and then we did another 4% last year. We did that math, and that's how we got to close to the 130 within $1,000. Because all the elected officials have been capped, including the mayor and down through there. So that's how they came up close to that number.
Okay, so going back to a couple concepts. One, I'd sure like to see the evaluations and the performance data before we vote on fairly substantial increases. I get that they may be justified, they may be based on cost of living, other county employees. Of course, he's an independent contractor, at least that's what it indicates here. And so I'm trying to get a sense, I think it would be better, and that's one of the primary bases. I would not be in favor of it until we've seen that review. I think it would be very helpful in terms of, yes, we're getting a good deal, we're getting great service. I mean, send it to all the commissioners, to all the constitutional officers, everybody that's covered basically by this contract. Okay? All right, so that's one thing. Another issue is the basic business deal. this is a 4-year deal. I mean, I don't understand why it's a 4-year deal. I really don't. I mean, I get that there might need to be a little bit of investment made. Law firms make that investment all the time. Okay? I've worked for several very large ones, very small ones, and in between, and companies. They make the investment all the time. It's not typically in a lump sum and then calculated along these lines as an increase in generally, our overhead is this, so we're going to charge you for that. Okay? Now, that's a business decision. If that's what the county wants, that's what we can do. But I'm just suggesting that as a business deal, that may not be the best approach. Okay? And there's a couple reasons for that. There's a provision in here that provides for termination. The termination agreement, the termination says if Mr. Christensen becomes incapacitated, convicted of a criminal offense, et cetera, subject to public disciplinary action, et cetera, the County Board of Commissioners may terminate the legal services without penalty. Well, that is a small subset. In the world in which I live, work, and everything else, you can fire an attorney, common knowledge, this is common knowledge, I'm not imparting legal advice. You can fire an attorney at any time for any reason, period. Okay? The question then becomes damages. And what all these additional pots of money, as Ms. Allen referred to, these pots of money complicate the damages piece. I would like to see that cleaned up, candidly. Right now, there's this incapacity, et cetera, that is a subset of what can happen. Okay? If he walked in, if Mr. Christensen, and I don't advise this or recommend it, if we didn't like his tie one day, you could terminate Mr. Christensen because you didn't like his tie. I've actually heard of similar type situations, okay, but I don't advise that at all. But, okay, the problem then becomes, once you've got the point at which you can terminate the attorney, the question then is, what's the damages? And this complicates the damages. Okay, these different pots, this overhead pot, the salary component, because what he's entitled to basically is an absolute right to fire an attorney anytime for any reason, okay? And then you pay out what's been done up to that point in time, okay? And so with the situation I would not want to be involved in, for example, is a situation where after a year, the new commission decides, we really would rather go with an in-house attorney. Okay, that's a model that hasn't been looked at maybe in a little while, but it seems to be gathering some steam again. Granted, it might be more expensive. As Michael indicated, the city attorneys seem to be making more. I don't know about the county attorneys. But bottom line, a year or two from now, this may change. At that point, we have the right to terminate, this contract, but the situation as it's currently structured may or may not, depends on what reasonable is, end up in a scenario where you are trying to, you're in a big discussion about, to say the least, what damages are owed, okay, if any. Okay, so that's one of the other issues here. There's another point at the very back that's candidly, and again, Ms. Allen mentioned this. I'm going to expand on it very briefly. If you go to the very back, the county is paying the liability claims against the county attorney and associate related to legal representation of the county. In my world, that's not something that's done. I mean, I'm not even sure it's legal, candidly. But so let's say, okay, indemnifying, you're basically paying the claims in advance. Now, that's not to be confused with paying claims, okay, that have arisen, that there's a reasonable disagreement about. Okay, you can settle that claim, basically, based on a prior action. You cannot settle, okay, claims in advance. So that has to be cleaned up, in my view. And again, I'm not representing the county per se. I'm just, based on my experience as a county commissioner, providing general advice, or general thoughts. Okay, so that's another important piece. You've got the business deal itself. Okay, like I said, the 4-year term. There's a provision here for 10%, paid to bond counsel. Not sure why that's in there. Okay, that's just an additional 10% off the top. So really, you're looking at the equation would be, general legal services, county attorney salary, $265 an hour for litigation expenses, the employee tax, and then there's this plus the 10% paid to bond counsel. So there's that component as well. Let's see. The other significant piece to this is conflicts of interest. There's nothing in here about how, there's a reference towards the very back to how the schools are handled, basically, sort of, but there's nothing laid out in terms of these are the conflicts of interest, notwithstanding the conflicts of interest, and by the way, in drafting the agreement, because by the way, my preference would be to get another attorney to look at this. Not me, I can't do it, I have a conflict, okay? Just to be clear. And so, get another attorney to look at this and advise us, yes, this is a good deal, to tidy it up, to put it mildly. Okay. So those are some of the basic points that, in my view, at least at this point, I'm unable to support this. Okay? If you had to nail it down to a couple of things, it's the future liability, can't do that. And you can't do, in my view, I think that the termination provision needs to be cleaned up substantially. And then what happens in terms of damages, et cetera. Okay? And I'll be glad to answer any questions, but that's the basic points that I can't support this for, at least as currently drafted. Okay? It's not really intended anything against NIT. What it is intended to do is clean up this relationship, just to be really clear. Okay? Clean up the relationship so that if the county, in good faith, decides to go a different direction, we have that mechanism. And there's not going to be a big dispute about it. So those are my thoughts. It's probably not. Let me see if there's anything else. I think it all goes back in part to the review or the evaluation process, building on that, and then cleaning up some of the legal aspects of it. That's my basic concerns. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to defer consideration of this for a month or two. Let's see, what would it be, March, April, May? That's when it was signed on last time in the last commission, was in May. By then, we should have the ability to at least have done the reviews, have an assessment, and be able to reasonably move forward.
Okay, I have a motion to defer for a month or two. Do I hear a second? I have a second. Discussion. Chairman Harris, or Chairman Gooch.
Well, I was going to ask if the county attorney could come up and address some of these questions that were brought up, and if Commissioner Harris has something before that, that's fine. But I would like the county attorney to address some of the issues that was brought up.
Good evening. There was a lot there, Mr. Irvin, so I'm happy to answer any questions. If there's any specific ones you'd like me to address, I'm happy to do that. I will say that this is the same form of the contract that's been in place for many, many years, and so that's kind of what I ran on and presented to you guys here today. There is the increase in compensation. I think that the finance director explained it very well. the salaries have been capped, and honestly, you know, doing a review of the amount of work that we do for the county, the amount of blood that I put into it, and sweat and tears that go into it, it just has not kept up pace with the market. And so in examining that, I was trying to be really, really fair to the county and also to my firm, because I have partners and I have other lawyers that have to, you know, come to work and have things to do and be paid. So in that regard, if you have any other specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. To anybody here on the board, I'm an open book with this stuff. I've been in the trenches with you guys, not just the commissioners, but all other constitutional officers in litigation, everything from the highway department all the way to being in court with PAWS, dealing with dangerous animals. So again, I'd ask that, you know, you move forward with this and present it to the county commission. On the idea of a 4-year time frame, there are substantial financial commitments that the firm has to make. I am essentially full-time for the county. The amount of work that I put on a day-to-day basis and my staff, it really is a full-time job. And I'm happy to do it. I love this county. I love doing the work, and I want to continue doing the work. But we also have to think, you know, from my aspect of the business that we're running and the commitments that we have to make for malpractice insurance, tech, research, legal databases, salaries, which have increased substantially over the last couple of years. I remember when we could get by paying $15 an hour for legal staff, and in order to keep good people, in order to service the county, that's just not feasible anymore. So we've had to double our pay for our support staff in order to keep up with the economy. So, but again, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Chairman Harris, recognized.
Mr. Chair, I mean, I've dealt with Nick for 8 years. I'm also on a corporation where I have lawyers too. And I know for a fact, when you call a lawyer and say, hey, what's going on, they start billing you. Nick gets, I don't know how many calls you get. I know I give you a bunch. And I talk to you a bunch. And we don't agree all the time, do we, Nick? We
No,
don't.
sir.
We've had some screaming matches with each other, and I think you have given me sound advice, sound attorney advice. And you've been, in my opinion, Wayne, in my opinion, he has been instrumental in how we run this county. He has helped us legally. He has helped us through some tough times. And yes, I am for him 100%. But if you asked about, you know, yearly this, yearly that, the reason it's 4 years is because it's a relationship. And we had to have that relationship. And we have been with Nick for 8 years. We've been with his firm before that, I would say probably 16, Jeff, maybe? Yeah. So not only does this, his firm gives us, this county commission, attorney advice, so does he give, his firm gives advice to Teb at trustee and Jeff at education. So I have not had any problems, and I'm a chairman, and I had to call him all the time about resolutions. Jeff can definitely attest to him, because when me and Jeff have conversations, 90% of the time it's, let me talk to Nick. And that's the right words to say. I think that it is essential for us to have an attorney that we trust, an attorney that will answer a question. If you're not getting callbacks from him, Commissioner Irvin, I don't know. Me and you don't talk that much on that, but if that's something, if that's a problem, we need to address it, and I think Nick will address that immediately. But I feel that we need to approve this agreement, and we need to move on for that and take us into the next election cycle, and so we don't have to deal with that. So that's why I think we should go forward with him. So we do have a motion on the floor, right?
We do have a motion. Any further discussion from any other members?
Mr. Christensen asked if there
Just
were...
before you do, I want to make sure there's no other commissioner wants to speak that hadn't had a chance to. Commissioner Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll be brief. But I can echo a lot of what Mr. Commissioner Harris has said, other than we haven't had any screaming matches. I appreciate that. But I have 100% faith in our county attorney. I agree with the pay structure. I don't think that that we could benefit any better than that. I think it was a good offer, and thank you, Nick, for everything that you've done for us and your firm. He's always been accessible to me, and I know he's been accessible to others, not just commissioners, but department heads. And I understand. I mean, I would never call anyone after 10 o'clock at night, but I know people do call you late at night trying to get the information and things. And so it's good to know that you're available 24/7. I do not agree that we should postpone a month or two. Having said that, I'm sympathetic in some of the things that you mentioned, Commissioner Irvin, as far as cleanup. So my question is, would it be prudent to have a third party just kind of review and make any recommendations for cleanup and have that done prior to the commission meeting?
I mean, I think that's something we could probably do, but I don't know how we'd actually go about that. You know, normally our county attorney actually directs us to outside counsel when we need outside counsel. So that's a question that I don't feel qualified to answer, but I definitely think we could do that.
Well, that's just a thought. I mean, if there's commissioners that's worried about some of the cleanup, and the cleanup may be just, I mean, it may be some opinions that it doesn't need to be cleaned up. There's nothing to clean up, but I don't know if it would be unreasonable just to have someone read it and make recommendations as far as does it need to have some types of cleanup.
I'll tell you what, let us do our vote, and we'll discuss that a little bit further. Commissioner Irving, you wanted to speak again?
Oh, sure. How are conflicts handled?
By the rules of professional conduct. It's different
So
when
let's say one constitutional officer calls you and you have a conflict with the county commission. How is that resolved?
I think it deals on a case-by-case basis, right, and what the facts are. We like to think that we are able to be the counsel for the entirety of the organization. I mean, there's a set of organizational ethical rules that apply for a position such as mine, because you can imagine it goes all the way. If you have a private corporation and you have a head CEO, and then you have a board of directors, and then you have other department heads underneath it, and then employees. So I think that the rules of professional responsibility generally dictate that, and if I've ever had questions, I generally seek counsel from the board of professional responsibility on that. But to date, there's been no issue.
Oh, I see. So you're saying to date, there's been no conflict between any constitutional officer and the commission or any other constitutional officer. You're saying there's never been a conflict like that?
There is certainly
conflict or potential conflict?
There is certainly conflict all the time between the county commission, possibly other officers, between other constitutionally elected officers and each other. That doesn't necessarily mean...
How do you resolve that?
That doesn't necessarily mean that it rises to a legal conflict. So as specified under the rules of professional responsibility.
So who ultimately makes that decision? Okay, I hear what you're saying. You go to the rule of professional responsibility. Sometimes they're helpful. Sometimes they're not crystal clear. I get that. Who makes the ultimate decision? Do you make it as the attorney, or do you bring it to the steering committee? And I apologize, I don't know what y'all's procedures are. Do you bring it to the steering committee and they resolve the conflict?
Yeah, so again, there is inherent in the nature of being a corporate counsel the opportunity to have conflict of interest occurring. And so on a day-to-day basis, I am constantly trying to evaluate those analytically in my head to determine if there is truly a legal conflict where I am unable to advise both parties, which...
Do you do that with an open communication with both parties to say, I can't represent you because, I can represent you because, et cetera? Do you do that with open communication?
I've always viewed my role as being, my client is the county. My client is the organization.
Okay.
And so I do what's best for what I think to protect legally the county, which is ultimately answerable to the taxpayers.
Okay, so it sounds like, do you consult with steering committee or anybody else in making the decision?
No, we just handle that internally in my office is the county attorney's office.
Now, the only other thing that I want to interject something here is we do occasionally have meetings during our meetings with the council where he takes or explains what's going on. We don't an executive meeting.
Executive session or something.
So, I think that answers part of your question. Just a moment. I've got one more question over here, and I'll come back to you. Commissioner Piercy.
Yes, I'm going to call for the question on the motions on the floor.
I'm going to have to vote on that.
I think I have the floor still.
Commissioner Piercy, I'm going to let him finish speaking. I'm sorry, and then we'll recognize that. Please go ahead, but please keep this short.
Okay, and just to confirm, your belief is that this is merely a subset, that an attorney can be terminated at any point in time for any reason?
Yeah, I think that ultimately a legal relationship, I mean, you're an attorney, and you're bound by the same rules that I am. When you have.
No, I'm just ignoring me.
Oh, right.
This is all about you.
Okay. Hey, everybody, I'm here. Ultimately, regardless of what a contract says, the professional legal relationship between a client and a lawyer is governed by the rules of professional responsibility.
Right.
So just like someone is permitted to pick their own doctor, I think it's the same thing. Someone's permitted to pick their own lawyer. And so if the relationship got so bad, I would think that either I want out or you guys want out. And at least personally, Wayne, we think, you're a lawyer, we think in terms of logical extremes, because if we don't, ultimately that one time it can happen and it's a cluster and stuff blows up. But I would like to think from my personality, the way I was brought up, the way that I was raised, that if there was some sort of issue and a deterioration of the relationship, that there would be an exit strategy discussed, and it wouldn't be this, I'm not interested in getting embroiled in litigation. I've got family and other stuff to worry about. So.
And that's fair, and I appreciate you saying that. I just wanted to be sure, because if the county commission were to go a different route, and let's say it wanted to go in-house, and you'd certainly be, a prime candidate to come in-house if you chose to do that.
Commissioner, you've gone on to another subject now, and I'm gonna stop you there. Go back to the call of the question. Do I have a second on the call of the question? I have a let me see. All in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye. Aye. How many noes? One. The question's been called for.
Mr. Chairman, before we vote on this, I think we just need to clarify the motion. If I could read that back, I believe the motion was to defer a month or two. I just want to clarify for the motion so I can have it good for the minutes.
That's what I heard. Do you want to clarify that any further, Commissioner Irvin?
2 months.
Does the second accept 2 months? You were second, Commissioner Johnson. He's all right. So 2 months is what we're voting on, to delay for 2 months. All right. We're not having any further discussion. Please call roll.
Commissioner Piercy,
No.
Commissioner Sereno,
No.
Commissioner Gooch,
No.
Commissioner Harris,
No.
Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson. Yes. Chairman P.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay. You're recognized.
Chairman, go ahead. I want to make a motion to accept this agreement. And for Mr. Gooch, Commissioner Gooch, I will put it for attorney, just have our attorney look at it. We can ask, is Adam still at the city? We can have him look at it or something. Commissioner Gooch, what do you want to do on that? I want to make a motion for this to go forward. If you want to put an amendment on it, you can do that, but I'm going to make the motion that we accept this agreement and go forward.
Second.
Okay, well, I have a motion and a second to accept the agreement as is. Any further comments right now?
I think the reason I was suggesting that another third party look at it to see if there's any cleanup was just trying to get, make sure that enough commissioners could support it. And if that meant having someone look at it for any cleanup things, then that was an idea. Not that I'm going to press that someone looks at it. But I guess my thing is if the
I would
concern
suggest,
was
excuse me,
stronger-
I would suggest we make that in a, see if this passes, and if it does, do that as a separate motion, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and
Or
I mean,
is that, if that's agreement with, any other discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin,
No.
Commissioner Johnson. No. Chairman P.
Yes, okay, the motion carries there. Now, I know in the past, Chairman Phillips, maybe you can correct me if you see me going the wrong way on here. We've always had, when we needed outside attorney, our attorney has suggested someone, and I don't have a problem with him suggesting someone to review this contract as you're suggesting, if that's going to be your motion. But I was going to throw out, unless one of you wants to suggest an outside attorney, I'll leave that up to this committee. Chairman Gooch, I'm going to ask you what your thoughts are, if you want to go that route or what.
I'm not going to make any further motions at this time. Again, what I was trying to do is, if there was enough commissioners that I thought had a hang-up on some of these issues that it needed to be cleaned up or tidied up some, that I was going to suggest that we ultimately can come to unanimous, if not supermajority agreement with this. So I don't really feel like that's the case, so I'm just going to not make any motion right now.
Okay. Is any further discussion on this issue? If not, I'm going to move on. All right. I'm also going to take the liberty, and just don't run away, please. I want to move item 21 forward, which is the election to exercise the first option to extend the initial permitting period for an additional 30 days and approve an additional deposit of $100,000. And this is on the building that we're looking at purchasing. I've also asked Chairman McAdoo to... Okay, thank you. I called Chairman McAdoo when I found out that we were going to be looking at this because we just got the agreement and we did not have time for this to go to property management. I didn't want to skip over them. However, we have a deadline. We have to vote on this by our next commission meeting or we lose this contract. So that's why we're going to go ahead and address it tonight, forward to whatever our recommendation comes out to be. But if you want to take it
I
from
can
there.
take it, Michael, if you want. Yeah, just real quick. This is something very minor. Stuff is progressing along very nicely with the Bank of America building. I believe your purchasing committee is dealing with a construction manager out risk to start getting some quotes on what it's going to take to renovate that building, assuming the county purchases it. So far to date, the county has deposited $150,000 towards the purchase price of the building. We're nearing the end of our permitting period, and that is going to be ending next Friday. We have 3 30-day extension options that we can exercise. And I think that it's wise for this body, assuming it wants to continue moving forward, is to exercise those options. And this is the first of the 3 30-day exercising of those options. It does require a $100,000 additional deposit. We've already agreed to all that, by the way. If you recall, last month we amended the contract. It lowered the purchase price, but it increased the amounts of the deposit. So that's already been agreed to. This is simply just to elect. The county is going to elect to move into the first 30-day extension period and pay an additional $100,000 deposit towards the purchase price. That's all this is.
Any questions from the committee or discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
And if, Your Honor, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman. He's in court this morning, right? I think a proper motion would be to elect to move forward into the first 30-day extension and approve a $100,000 deposit pursuant to the terms of the real estate contract. That would be the motion.
Do I hear anybody making that motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go forward with this permitting period for an additional 30 days and approve the $100,000. All right. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, so this is,
You're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, so this is one of three, right?
The first.
And then after the third one, we either terminate, it's terminated, correct?
You either got to back out, in which case you'll lose all the deposits because it's non-refundable, or we make the election to move forward to closing.
Okay. What is holding us up right now?
The mayor's office, not the mayor's office is not holding this up, but the mayor's office may be able to opine better. My understanding is that before there was some concern from the commission of understanding what the renovation costs are going to be. You remember Mr. Klein was here, I think, last month and presented, maybe it was the month before, all of that. And so your purchasing committee has sent out an RFQ or an RFP for construction manager at-risk services and has authorized the payment of some pre-construction services, which what those mean is they can come back and get some quotes and some bids of estimated costs of what it's going to take to meet Mr. Klein's proposed renovation and give a firm, harder cost so that the commission can be better informed before they pull the trigger on going to closing.
So basically, we're just waiting on bids to come in to give us an idea how much it's going to cost.
There's some other.
Let's hope they don't take 30 more days.
Just, Mr. Harris, just so you know, there are some title things that we are working through that I've explained to this body involving some parking arrangements with some neighboring landowners that are along, I believe, Church or Maple, but they're on the backside of the property. So we're still working through those. So there may be a need legally to still extend the permitting period while we resolve those. But I will tell you, Chairman Harris, those issues are progressing in the very good direction to get resolved so that we can close on the property.
Any further discussion?
Quick question.
You're
So a
recognized.
no vote basically says no more deposit, deal's over.
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Piercy? Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin?
No.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Chairman P?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Now we'll go back to item 8, discussion of security cameras for solid waste. And I will speak on this. This is actually a work in progress. We got a report at Public Works the other night. They are working with our IT department and trying to get some numbers together. They do not have anything to present to us yet. So we're going to go ahead and pass on that tonight and go on to item 9, general fund budget amendment for the sheriff's office for prisoners' clothing.
Good evening, Steve Spence, Deputy Chief of the Sheriff's Office. This budget amendment reallocates $10,000 from the maintenance and repair of equipment to prisoner clothing, asking to take $10,000 from our maintenance and repair of equipment and place it into our prisoner clothing line item. You be doing all this.
What's the will of the committee? You want to do these together or separate them? Okay, we'll go ahead with these first 3.
Yes, sir. The second one is a budget amendment that reallocates $133,811 from the contracted services to motor vehicles. This would be for the purchase of 2 Dodge Durangos for mental health transports. The financial year 25-26 funds were awarded to Rutherford County for mental health patient transport appropriation grant. This is a no-match grant, and this is an eligible expense under the mental health transport guidelines, requesting to take the $133,811 from the mental health transport and place it into the motor vehicle line item.
Okay, all three of those, there's no new money involved, there's some transfers. Any questions for?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. And a second. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, Chairman P.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Please continue. Item 12.
Yes, sir. This amendment recognizes the reduction of revenue and expenses for the new financial year 26 Police Traffic Safety PTS grant from Tennessee Highway Safety Office for overtime-related benefits and law enforcement equipment. The period of performance is from October 1st of 2025 through September 30th of 2026. This grant does not require a match. The original award was $150,000. However, the Tennessee Highway Safety Office reduced the existing active grant to be adjusted by approximately 20%, requesting to take $10,456 from the 25 federal through state revenue, take $30,000 from the 26 federal through state revenue, remove $11,396 from the overtime line item, add $750 to the travel line item, reduce the law enforcement equipment about $1,383, and reduce unassigned fund balance $28,427.
Michael, have you checked all these numbers? We're good on those? Okay. Any questions from the committee on this? And again, this is a no match.
Yes, sir.
This is moving from, drug control.
Yes, sir. This amendment is to recognize revenue from the restricted for public safety to move funds into the drug control fund, maintenance and repair of vehicles, requesting $20,000 from the restricted for public safety and placed into the maintenance repair of vehicles.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I need to clarify a couple things. Chief Spence, or Deputy, I can never remember his Chief Deputy or Deputy Chief. Anyways, Steve,
Yes.
he read the first two amendments. He read numbers 9 and 10, and then we voted on those. And so he just read 11 and 12. Y'all are more than welcome to take those together, or you can take them separate. So if it's up to the motion,
That's fine.
take them together?
Together.
Okay. So this motion would be for 11 and 12.
All right. Everybody understand that? Any further questions? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, Chairman P.
Yes, motion carries, and it's 11 and 12. Item 13.
We were requesting to apply for the Tennessee Highway Safety Office and Community Traffic Safety Program grants. The Tennessee Highway Safety Grant pays for the overtime and equipment for deputies working saturation and traffic enforcement. We were requesting $200,000. The Community Traffic Safety Program grant pays for overtime and equipment to do traffic education at the community, schools, and other public safety events. We're requesting $25,000 on that one. These are no-match grants. The grants run from October 26 through September 2027. If we are awarded these grants, we request the mayor to be able to accept and sign them.
Now, are you, okay, I have a motion
Second.
and a second. And that was item 13. Was that also 14?
Yes, sir.
That was- So he did mention 14 in there, too.
13 and 14 are on this same attachment, but they are two separate items.
Do we need to vote on those separately, Michael?
You can take them together.
We can take those together, and that's the motion, was to take grants, plural of those two. Any further questions? This is a vote to approve these two no-match grants. Hearing no further discussion, call roll.
Commissioner Piercy, Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, Chairman P.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
All right, thank you, Steve. Okay, item 15, general fund budget amendment for the drug courts. Welcome.
Good evening, Lindsay Davis, the Reentry Program Coordinator with the Recovery Courts. This amendment is being requested to recognize the rollover balance of the Year 1 grant from the Department of Health and Human Services, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration. The funds will be used for the Recovery Court participants. This is a no-match grant that we've had since 2024. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You've heard her presentation. Do I hear a motion or any questions for her? Have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. And this is basically moving some money around, isn't it, Michael?
Sorry, I finally got somebody bring me a cough drop. Yes, is this the SAMHSA?
It is, yes.
So this aligns the SAMHSA grant, our internal budget, with the actual grant budget where it was approved. So it is just moving money around. It's no new money with this.
Correct.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, Commissioner Irvin, Commissioner Johnson, Chairman P.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Y'all have a great evening.
All right. Item 16, General Purpose School Fund Budget Amendment. Welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. Kay Martin, Deputy Superintendent for Rutherford County Schools, and Brian Runyon with me here tonight, CFO. We just have one budget amendment cleanup for you tonight. This amended revenue reflects state grant allocations not included in the original budget. The amended reflect the increase in cost of instruction, support supplies and materials, maintenance, contracted services and equipment, and state-mandated teacher instructional supplies and material allocations. This amendment has a net increase in both the current year revenue and expenditures of $880,000 with no use of fund balance.
You've heard her recommendation that the state is giving them money, not out of our budget. Any questions or further discussion?
Mr. Chair, we saw this in Health and Ed and thought it was very appropriate. My motion is to move for approval.
Have a motion? Second, Commissioner Piercy. Further discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Oh, he couldn't see. He left.
Commissioner Irvin, Commissioner Johnson, Chairman P.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Item 17, Highway Fund Budget Amendment for Natural Gas.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Hickerson, the Department Coordinator for the Rutherford County Highway Department. Bring for you tonight a budget amendment for moving $15,000 from our line item for liability and increasing our natural gas line item by the $15,000. This is not taking any money from fund ending balance. It's strictly moving it within our current budget year. This is for the cost of the gas that has the natural gas increase, and also to let you know, we heat our office and our shop with natural gas, and during the ice storm and stuff, you can imagine those roll-up doors in the shop are up and down several times, trucks in and out and working. So we had a little more use for our January when it come in, and so we're just needing this extra money to finish out through the end of June. This did pass unanimous at the road board on Monday with a 7-0 vote for yes.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Piercy, Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, Commissioner Irvin, Commissioner Johnson, Chairman P.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, sirs.
Item 18, request for acceptance of the essential equipment grant for the ambulance service. You going to cover this?
So this is more of a clerical cleanup item. This grant we got last fall, it's a no-match grant. The minutes of the Budget Committee reflect that this grant was approved and allowed for the mayor to sign and accept. However, the resolution that went to the commission only approved for application. So we're just dotting our i's and crossing our t's here. Since we have been awarded this grant, if y'all could approve us to accept and for the mayor to sign this grant, that's what I'm requesting tonight.
So moved.
There was a motion and 2 seconds there. All right. Any further discussion on this grant? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin? Commissioner Johnson? Chairman P?
Yes, motion carries. Item 19 has been pulled. We'll look at that later in the year during budget season. Item 20, general fund budget amendment for the opioid board. Michael, you want to cover those, please?
So the opioid board met this week, and they approved 2 items. They approved the purchase and pickup of a canine dog for the sheriff's office, and they also approved an additional $15,000 for Graceful Gems, a nonprofit with Murfreesboro City Schools. That budget amendment is before you tonight. I will go ahead and comment on something that was brought up at the opioid board as it relates to the canine. I believe there was a motion to direct to try to use the restricted funds if possible. However, those restricted funds have all been allocated out to all the other nonprofits. So we had to use the committed funds for opioid. That's what's part of this budget amendment as you see tonight. But that was approved this week at the opioid board.
Okay, any discussion, questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
I have a motion to approve. Second. And second. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin? Commissioner Johnson? Chairman P?
Yes, motion carries. We're getting pretty close to the end of our agenda, and unfortunately, I asked Michael to add this, which is the total bond refunding savings history. A lot of people don't realize how much money that this committee and the commission has saved our county, and I've asked Michael to total that for us, because I've had people question me about this and how we actually save this money for our county. But Michael?
So in the night on some good news. So it's a simple chart. I went by bond issuance. We went back to 2010. We could have kept going back further, but this was the available records that we could access quickly. But the gross savings over the refundings that we've done, and this does not include the one that we're fixing to do next week that was most recently approved. So this number will increase hopefully to over 26 or 27 million here in a couple weeks. But what you're seeing is a chart on the amount of money we've saved based on the refundings of our bond, and that means getting lower interest rates as we go back and look at bond that we can refinance for lower rates. And so the gross savings there is $25.4 million that we've saved on gross savings since 2010, and that's a lot of money, direct money we can allocate to somewhere else. The only difference when you see a present value savings column, that number is more of an estimate, and the reason we estimate that is because that you have to assume, depending on what type of discount rate you would apply to those present value savings. But direct gross savings at that time was $25.4 million. And so we're just really happy to announce that. But that doesn't speak to my work. That speaks to the work of this committee dating back to 2010, spanning 2 different finance directors. But it definitely speaks to directly to this body and the full commission allowing us to do that and working with us as we save that money.
I do want to point out, too, I've used these figures in the past. The last figures that I used came from our former budget director, and at that time, she went further back than what Michael has, so those numbers are a little bit different from what I had advertised last time. But this is, what did you say it was again, 25.5?
$25,478,732 of gross savings. And I'll add this, I think this number is going to fluctuate depending on how many years we go back, meaning you know, we try to go back maybe 10 or 15 years every time. So as one of these would roll off, another one's going to roll on, for example, when we kind of keep a rolling total. We could go back further. These were just readily available. So like I said, hopefully that number is over 26 million, or it will be after we do the bond refinancing next week, assuming no more wars that we enter or things like that.
That was what, 1,070,000 potential, or?
And if we would have been able to go to the bond market, which we are quickly, but if we would have been able to go this week, that number of savings would have been closer to 1.3 million or 1.5. The other thing some other good news that just came to my mind that I'll announce to this committee, we did get reaffirmed on 3 AAA ratings this week by Moody's, S&P, and Fitch. They reaffirmed our AAA rating this week. So those were released publicly this week. So I think that is also some good news that speaks to the financial work that this committee and that we do in this county here.
Okay, guys, any questions for the director? Hearing none, that is the end of our agenda, and we're adjourned.